Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Joe. Welcome back to SNES's Life. This is the PS2 and You $100 challenge. I'm done. This is the end of it. I decided to stop at 6 months of effort here. I had a budget of $55 remaining at the last pile. And I've bought a few things. And by a few things, I kind of mean a lot of things unintentionally. I had kind of stopped looking, and then purchase presented itself to me. So the first thing I bought was a second controller. This is just from a pawn shop. It was $5. It's a third-party DualShock. Not official Sony, but I had a couple two-player games in here, and I thought, God darn it, I don't have a second controller for this system yet, so I better get one of those. Just kind of a last-bit thought. And then I have a buy that takes a little explaining. I have some pictures to go along with it. So I saw this lady on Facebook selling, I guess, games that her kids had left at her house and they've been long gone. Now, she sold it to me for $103 because it was every dollar I had in my pocket at the time. And it's 33 games, which means I paid a little over $3 for each game. But I'm only keeping 4 of those. The 4 I'm keeping, we've got the original Star Wars Battlefront. Battlefront 1942 set the pace for the Battlefront games. They are amazing and fun, and playing them in the Star Wars world just makes it all that much better. I remember playing this game actually on the PC in the early 2000s, and if I remember correctly, I don't think you get to play as like Darth Vader, but I think the main characters do kind of show up in there. But it's hard to beat just a good area control, battlefield style game, and the Star Wars universe makes it even better. You know, it had been on the list to find, and I hadn't found it, and then suddenly I did. So that worked out well for me. Next up, Grand Theft Auto 3 with all its video rental store stickers of 1 night, 260, 3 nights, 5 nights. Must be 18 to rent. Eventually buy it for $6. Grand Theft Auto 3 is not a game I had been looking for at all. It had not been on the list. The only GTA game I wanted to get was Vice City. And it was Vice City's built off the GTA 3 engine, as is, I think, San Andreas. So these games are all very, very similar. But GTA 3 is a very good game nonetheless. It's not quite as refined as Vice City, and then obviously San Andreas being the last was even better. But I figured, what the hell, if I'm counting this game as $3, you know, it's hard to shoot myself in the foot with that one. And yeah, it's a Grand Theft Auto game. They generally have a little bit of jank to them, but they're always a good time. The vehicular physics and the gunplay are just good stuff. Next up, Midnight Club Street Racing. This one's actually CIB, manual and all, which is nice. The other 2 did not have manuals. I am not a huge race fan, but I've seen multiple people online say that this is one of the better racing games for the PlayStation 2, so I figured, what the hell. It's also made by Rockstar, so, should be a fairly quality game. And I don't think I had a real racing game in here. I have Twisted Metal Black, which is not really racing. So picking that up wasn't a big deal. I'll be happy with that purchase as well. And then the final game I got, came out of her pile, is WWE Smackdown, Here Comes the Payne. Now, I'm not a huge current wrestling fan, but I was a big fan of wrestling in like the Attitude Era, the late 90s, a little bit into the early 2000s. I think some of the wrestlers in this one, like Goldberg and such, were not really big when I stopped watching, but they were just kind of coming into it. But I don't have, the only fighting game I collected out of this whole thing was Tekken Tag Tournament. And I thought, man, another 2-player sort of combat game would be good. And so WWE Smackdown, Here Comes the Payne. She actually had a couple WWE games in there. And this is the one I'm keeping, because this is the one that, after looking up everything, people tend to say played the best, looked the best, / was the best. So, yeah. 4 more games that I did not count on getting, but I do now have. I got that second controller finally. So we are ending with a very good collection. Now, I spent $103 on these games. I mean, you know, they're a little over $3 a piece. Call it 12, 4, 8, 12, $16. So $21 purchase with the controller. I'm at, you know, technically I'm in the positives right there. But if you want to say that I spent $103, so I need to make that back, looking at this set of games, and I haven't sold anything yet, but Pokemon Stadium 1, 2, and Ruby will easily probably net me $130 or $140 just between the 3 of them. So I am absolutely going to make my money back off of that purchase. Not only that, I still have other stuff to sell along with these games and previous purchases that I have yet to get rid of. Long game, I'm coming out of this ahead, technically. So, like, yeah, I haven't sold it all yet, but I will eventually. Sometimes that takes time and effort, and I haven't put the effort in recently. But I really am going to have spent $0 in the end. I started with 100. I guarantee you I'm going to end over 100. And that means I got a PlayStation 2 collection for free. And a lot of really good games with it, actually. So, you know, I went into it. You buy, you horse trade, you sell. It takes some effort. It takes a lot of hunting Facebook and pawn shops and resale shops. But you can do it. Now, it helps, of course, that the PlayStation 2 was an insanely popular console. The best-selling console of all time. You know, I mean, would I have been as easy to do this with a GameCube? Hell no. A GameCube is super high-priced. Especially right now, but I don't see it going down. And I think, actually, the PlayStation is probably going to go up a little as time goes on, just because PlayStation 2s, I think, are going to eventually start being thrown out. People are going to see them as useless and get rid of them. And so I do think their prices will eventually climb. Probably not for a hot minute. So if you want to get it on PS2, I think now's an amazing time. You know, just in 6 months, I put together a huge collection of games. You know, other than the 4 I just showed, like this giant box of games here. We got a lot of great stuff, a lot of third-person adventure 3D open world style games. We got some vehicular combat, a fighting game, a number of hack and slashes, a couple FPSs, some 3D platformers. You know, and now I've added a wrestling game, another third-person shooting game, another GTA, a racing game. There's a lot of good stuff to be had out there. And now all I have to do is decide what the hell I'm going to do with all this stuff. Because I don't actually need any of it. This was a collection completely separate from my own personal collection. I think there are probably some games in this I'm going to keep, but for the most part I'm probably going to end up having to resell all the rest of this later. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll take it to a convention or something and just raffle it off to charity or raffle it off to somebody who wants it. Unless I have a friend who wants it. I guess I'll put feelers out there first, But that's it, guys. The PS2 and You $100 collection challenge is done. 6 months of effort and work and a ton of good games. You know, many of these games are viewed as the top games for the system. Good deal. It was a lot of fun to do. I'm happy to be done because I'm just kind of, the season's winding down. We're coming into fall and in the winter, and you know, I'm going to get less and less garage sales, and the pawn shops are going to slow down, and I'm going to want to travel less to look for stuff. So it just seemed like the right time to call this done and wrap it up. But for you guys who watch this with interest, I appreciate you. I thank you. Hopefully this encourages some of you guys to go do the same thing I just did. And if you can come out ahead, good on you. I hope you do. And if you don't, well, hey, you got a collection of something, right? But that's it. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you later. PS2 and You. Go do something like that. Peace out, though.